Good evening. This is a 9 p.m. news bulletin on the Ambazonian Communication Network brought to you by Cecilia Amabo. Yesterday, Ambazonia was locked down following calls by the Ambazonian Governing Council for the boycott of colonial elections organized by Cameroon. News and images from across Ambazonia shows an overwhelming majority of Ambazonians heeded to the call and stayed home. Since 2016, Ambazonians have boycotted every colonial elections organized by Cameroon within its territory. For more on this, we now turn to our correspondent who monitored yesterday's lockdown.
Greetings, fellow Ambazonians, soldiers and vanguards of the revolution, mothers and children. Today, Sunday, 7th of December 2020, lockdown was very successful. Elections widely boycotted all across the 13 states in southern Cameroon, otherwise known as Ambazonia, the newest country in Africa. In the Atlantic zones, especially in Victoria, elections were massively boycotted. Businesses closed, no cars, no pedestrians seen on the streets. Taxi drivers, motorbike riders all boycotted elections as everyone stayed indoors for their safety. As a matter of fact, the boycott and rejection of foreign-imposed House of Chiefs was a big success, especially in Victoria. The illegitimate councillors who took part in the sham elections were hired agents with no mandate from the indigenous people of Ambazonia. Meanwhile, in the savannah zones, elections were heavily boycotted. The population of Ambazonia, of Bamenda, boycotted the elections massively, and of course, it was a great success. Businesses closed. There was a complete ghost town. In Momo, the state of Bangui, the indigenous people also boycotted the elections hugely as they all shamed the crooked colonial administrators by not casting their votes. Henceforth, Traitor Uncle Elias Ambi, a retired customs officer and a municipal councillor at Widikum, who voted in an illegal election organized by colonial Cameroon, was eliminated by the brave forces of Alabukam while on his way back from Bangui. This has served as a lesson to all other enablers derailing the God-ordained struggle of Ambazonia. Moving over to the great state of Bui, Traitor von Binglo was seen with colonial officers, the governor of the Northwest region, Lele Afrik, casting their votes. The indigenous people of Saw boycotted massively the election and declined voting. The people of Saw did so well despite all the intimidation from the colonial administrators, as there was fear amongst the entire neighborhood. I can clearly state that lockdown was effective. What a shame and disgrace to the fun on Saw and his entourage as they were seen flown back to Yaoundé in a helicopter. To conclude, I urge all Ambazonians to give a minute of silence to the Reverend Father and a seminarian shot down by La République du Cameroun at mile 17 in Akoum on their way back to celebrate a mass. Our thoughts and prayers to the bereaved families. Indira reporting.
Thank you, Inzira, and indeed our thoughts and prayers go to the family of the bereaved. Concerning the same illegal election by foreign power, the Ambazonian Defense Forces and other sister forces mounted checkpoints to prevent enablers and traitors from being transported by Cameroon across Ambazonia. In a firefight involving the ADF fighters and the Cameroon military, a traitor and two military officers were wounded. The ACN News has since learned from its source, close to the General Hospital in Bamenda, that the 2 wounded military officers later died of their wounds. In Fako, the ADF forces and fighters patrolled the Trans-African Highway, protecting the nation from the activities of a foreign power. In the great state of Bui, the Fononso was seen being escorted by the genocidal forces to a voting station. In reaction to this betrayal, the leadership of the Ambazonian Governing Council has called on the people of Seoul to enthrone a new Fon. Writing on his Facebook timeline, the president of the Ambazonian Governing Council, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, wrote, and I quote, "I am today calling on the people of Seoul to enthrone a new Fon. I have given authority to our forces to ensure the elimination of the threat posed by the Fon of Seoul and any other Fon or chief who defies the law of the land." End of quote. Also reacting to the Fon's betrayal, a prominent Ambazonian activist, Ben Wills, wrote on his Facebook page, and I quote, "The Fon of Seoul, whom Ambazonians pleaded for his release, has outrightly betrayed the people once more. This time around with provocative comments as he goes ahead to take part in the banned regional election organized by La République du Cameroon. He has angered everyone across Ambazonia, and what befalls the Fon in the coming days, he has himself to be blamed. The people gave him the fair chance to stay away from provocative politics, but he decides otherwise." Now on foreign news. Cameroon. Cameroon Ministry of Defense is reporting that an estimated 300 La République du Cameroon soldiers have deserted their posts and are on the run. They fear death in Ambazonia. La République government has therefore ordered for their salaries to be cut and their cases taken to court. The ACN News has contacted sources in Cameroon who have stated that most of the soldiers have been killed in Ambazonia by the Ambazonian Defense Forces and other forces fighting to defend Ambazonia. The source also disclosed that most of these forces may be young recruits with insufficient training. An ex-Cameroon B resident in the Middle East was also able to corroborate this source. The ACN News contacted the Deputy Defense Chief of the Ambazonian Defense Forces for comment, and this is what he had to say.
Yes, Madam Cecilia, we have been witnessing this phenomenon for the past 4 years. Cameroon military men abandoning their posts, some of them defecting, the vast majority of them leaving to seek asylum in the diaspora. We have actually been facilitating the extraction of a lot of Cameroon military men out of the territory. Most of them are low in morale. Most of them are having a toll from the war, in particularly those from the Ambazonian extraction, who are also suffering from discrimination within the Cameroon military. A very, very little amount of these soldiers have stayed behind to provide training to our forces and are battling the Cameroon military on the ground with our forces and including our partner forces. The case of Ayeke is one good example that is well known. There are other examples that are not being shown on social media because of security concern. Most of these forces that have traveled abroad and seek asylum, most of them we have facilitated the process of their asylum cases, and most of the soldiers have contacted us to help them to extract them out of the country. There are still some of them who are still in Africa, but the vast majority of them have lived to Dubai, some in Cyprus, some have actually tried to cross the United States of America on foot through the Mexican border. So this is not a new phenomenon. But increasingly, they have chosen the option to go and seek for asylum. A very, very small amount of them have stayed behind to provide training for the Amazonian forces, not just the ADF, but as well the sister forces and other forces across our national territory.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chief of Defence. Still on foreign news. The UK voted to leave the EU 3 years ago and is currently negotiating the terms of its departure. The BBC is reporting today that talks between the EU and the UK have resumed as the two sides effort to a post-Brexit trade deal. Most Ambazonians see the departure of the UK from the EU as a positive development in their own struggle for independence. Also in Ghana, Ghanaians have been voting since 8 a.m. this morning for a new president. Voters lined up early in Ghana to cast their ballots in the presidential and legislative elections likely to test the West African nation credentials as one of the most politically stable countries on the continent of Africa. The winner of today's election will be the 13th president of the Republic of Ghana, if different from the current president since its independence in 1957. While elections in Ghana epitomizes peaceful political transition of power, Cameroon, on the other hand, remains a disgrace to the continent's political history with just 2 presidents since its independence in 1960. This has been your news anchor lady for ANC News, Cecilia Amabo. Good evening and God bless you all.
To the Father for making you a nation of joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty meeting our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of His nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty meeting our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of His nation.
Wow. Bamenda Brigade Mezam. Oh, yeah. This generation, a wonderful generation. The generation that have a mission to accomplish. We don't need any